Probably been told to exercise for your knees, but every time you try, something hurts. So now you're stuck wondering, do I push through this or do I need to stop because you could be making it worse? In this video, we'll show you a simple traffic light system that tells you exactly when to stop, when to ease off, and when it's actually safe to keep going. Plus, we're going to show you 5 key signs most people completely miss. Right, so I'm going to quickly explain a traffic light system that we've put together to help you navigate this area of knowing when to stop or when to ease off when you get knee pain while you're exercising. So essentially, there's going to be a green light, a yellow light, and a red light, okay? So green light means you can keep going. So what it means is that while you're exercising, if you experience some form of discomfort in your knee area, and it's sort of on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no pain and 10 is, very bad, sort of severe pain. If it's anywhere between 0 and 2, so generally speaking, you can keep exercising, okay? It doesn't mean you have to stop, okay? So just carry on. So that's green light, okay? Now, where it gets a little bit more complicated is between 3 and 5 out of 10. So we call it the yellow light, okay? So generally speaking, what it means is that in most cases, you can keep going. However, you just need to back off a little bit, okay? So you need to ease off. In most cases, it just means making the exercise a little bit easier, okay? So if you're using a little bit of weight, reduce the weight. If you are using your own body weight, you may just have to find a way to get a little bit of support. So for example, if you're doing a sit to stand, if you're doing a bit of a squat, you could either use a higher chair to do it from, or you can even use your hands. Maybe just use your hands to give you a bit of a push to make it a little bit easier, okay? So yellow light just means that, yes, you can carry on. However, you just need to make the exercise a little bit easier so that then hopefully you can go back to between 0 and 2, okay? So ease off to the point where your pain is no more than 2 out of 10, okay? Now we go to the red light. So the red light means you have to stop because you're probably doing more damage to your knee joint, okay? So anything more than 5 out of 10, you basically need to stop the exercise, give it about 5 minutes for your pain to settle down, okay? Now, once the pain settles down, you can go back to doing that exercise, but try and do it at a much lower level. So again, you ease off significantly. And then if the pain is between 0 and 2, that means you can carry on, keep going, okay? However, if the pain is still about 5 out of 10, something is wrong, okay? So then you need to either get an advice from your physio, personal trainer, or maybe just change the exercise, forget about that particular exercise and try a different exercise altogether, okay? So this is a simple traffic light system that we use to basically tell our clients when to stop and when to keep going, okay? Now, by the way, guys, we put together a flow chart of that traffic light system, essentially. If you want to get a copy of that flow chart or the traffic light system that I just explained, if you want to see the sequence of what to do when, it makes it a lot easier for you to understand it. If you have it in front of you while you're exercising, just comment traffic light below in the comment section and we'll send that over to you. So now we're going to talk about the 5 other factors or the 5 signs that you also need to look out for when you're having pain while exercising. You see, pain is very subjective. It's not black and white, and everyone's pain experience is a little bit different. So there's no hard and fast rule that I can give you that will tell you 100% of the time exactly what to do. So I think you need to take more than one factor into account. So I'm going to cover these 5 factors that are very important for you to understand. So number 1 is the location of pain, okay? So while you're exercising, if you're getting pain, let's say if the discomfort is in your thigh area, sort of around this area here. So what it most likely means is that it's in your muscle, it's in your quadricep muscle, okay? Now, we do expect some form of pain or some form of discomfort when you are targeting this muscle, because it just means that the muscle is getting tired, you're putting some form of strain on it, and that's a good thing because that's actually what makes the muscle stronger. However, on the other hand, if the pain is coming from in the actual joint, so the bendy part, okay, the actual knee part of the leg, that is not such a good sign. So that just means that maybe you are sort of flaring up your arthritis, or your kneecap is jamming up too much. So pain in the muscle is generally okay. Pain in the actual joint, it must make you feel that you sort of something is not quite right. Okay. So the location of pain is important. Now the second thing is the nature of pain. Okay. So what it means is, what does it feel like? Does it feel like a muscle soreness? Does it feel like a sharp stabbing pain? Or maybe it feels like a bit of tingling or numbness. Okay, so just to break it down again, if it feels more like a muscle ache or muscle soreness, it's usually okay, because again, it just means the muscle is getting tired. Okay, now if it feels like a stabbing, sharp pain that's coming from inside the joint, the knee joint, it should make you a bit aware that something may be going on, and you should readjust your position or make the exercise a bit easier. Now, things like tingling or numbness, quite often they indicate that maybe the nerve is involved. So there's some kind of nerve compression going on. Not a good sign. Okay, so again, you need to look back into what you're doing, change the position, make the exercise easier. But you've got to change something, because that is not a good sign. Okay. Now the third factor that you need to be looking at is, how long does it take for the pain or the discomfort to settle back down? So what it actually means is that, let's say you do a set of exercise. Let's say you do a set of squats. Okay, and then it gives you a bit of pain, but then as soon as you stop doing the exercise, the pain is gone. Okay, that's generally a good sign. So it's mechanical pain. There's some kind of irritation, but as soon as you stop the exercise, the pain disappears. That is usually okay. However, if the pain takes more than 5 minutes to go away, especially if it takes more than an hour to go away, you might be doing some damage. There's some kind of inflammatory response going on. There's some kind of more long-term consequence of the exercise, that you probably are doing some serious damage to the area. I would be concerned about it. So that means next time you do this exercise, if you get pain again, you should definitely be easing off. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. The quicker, the longer it takes for the pain to disappear after you finish the exercise, the more concerned you should be about this type of pain. Is there anything else you want to add about this, Gavin?
I would say, like, what's normal for you as well. So like some of you might know that I've had a bunch of knee surgery. So I do have a lot of those things that Alex talked about. So for me now, after I'm like 10 years post surgery from my last one, there are things I do that I neglect, but I know that in a day it's going to be fine. And that's where experience comes in. So like, I don't have to worry about it. I just know that if I do this, I get pain for a day, therefore then the next day is fine. And I think it's understanding your body as well, because a lot of, like, my surgeon, for argument's sake, said, you're never going to run, you're never going to squat. And I just done an Ironman, and I squat my body weight all the time with barbells, right? But I've had to learn over the years of exactly this thing. Is like, when is it? And it is trial and error. I think sometimes people get super scared that they get pain, I can't do anything. Actually, like, there's no more damage being done. I just learn about my body to get on there, right? And if I am worried, I'll obviously speak to Alex and he'll have a look. And it's the same for you. If you are worried, then you need to go and speak to a professional about it. But don't always just shy away because there's pain.
Yeah.
I think we need to accept that we are going to have pain as we get older, and how we manage that, right? And the traffic light system Alex put together as a resource is fantastic. Like, honestly, when you go through it all, you can make really good decisions based on your situation to pull back or push. I think that's really important. So make sure you do grab that guide.
Great. And that kind of segues us into the next factor, which is progression of pain. Okay. So let me explain. So what it means is that, let's say today you do a workout and you get a pain of, let's say, 4 out of 10. Okay. And you wait for a couple of days, you do the same exercise in a couple of days. Next time you come back to the gym, or next time you do it at home, whatever it is. And next time you do exactly the same thing, but next time the pain is 3 out of 10. Okay. So that's a good sign. Okay. So that just means your body is adapting. Okay. And exercise is all about adaptation. Is you're putting a certain amount of stress on your muscles. They may feel a little bit unhappy about it, but they adapt, so they get stronger. So next time you try, it actually feels more comfortable, you feel better, you feel stronger, okay? So every time you do the same thing, if the pain gets a little bit better, that is definitely a good sign. However, if it's the opposite, if next time you try it, it's 5 out of 10, and the next time you try it, 6 out of 10, so every time you try it, the pain increases, that is definitely not a good sign. So that means that damage is accumulating inside your knee joint or your muscle. There's probably a progression of injury going on, okay? So you're actually causing more injury every time you do it. Not a good sign, okay? So if you are experiencing consistent pain while exercising, it's probably not a bad idea to keep a diary of your pain. So for each exercise you do, what is your discomfort level? And track it over a period of time. If you feel like it's getting worse, you got to adjust something, you got to change something, okay? If it keeps getting better, great, you're on the right track, okay? So progression pain is factor number 4. Okay, and the last factor we're going to discuss today, number 5, is the 24-hour pain pattern. Okay, so let me explain again. So let's say you do the exercise, okay, it gives you a bit of discomfort while you're doing the exercise, but then again, as soon as you finish, pain is gone and it never comes back. That's a good sign, okay? However, let's say you're exercising, there's a little bit of pain, 1 or 2 out of 10, but then when you rest it, when you give it an hour of rest after completion of the exercise, the pain suddenly increases. And especially if it comes back at night when you're in bed, it starts throbbing and starts aching. If there's more pain at rest than while you're actually active, that is usually a bad sign. Okay, it just means that pain is inflammatory. There's probably some kind of injury going on. And you should probably be speaking to a health professional to diagnose and to know exactly what is going on. So general rule here is that if it hurts more when you're resting than when you're exercising or when you're active, not a good sign. Okay, you should be a little bit cautious and you should be speaking to a health professional to find out exactly what is actually happening. But I think I want to come back to what Gavin just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. The thing is, I think more often than not, we see people who are very scared of pain. And as soon as they feel any type of discomfort, they panic and they just stop exercising and do nothing, okay? That leads to more muscle weakening. And the next time if they ever try exercising again, it hurts even more because now they have less muscle, they have less support around the joints, and that unfortunately, they can only lead in one direction, which is weakening, wasting, and more pain down the track. Okay, so even though it may seem counterintuitive, but quite often if you carry on, if you persist with some adjustment, you actually be in a better place further down the track. Sometimes you just have to push through. Obviously, use all the information that we're giving you in this video, but sometimes by carrying on, it actually long-term you actually be better off. So that's just something to be aware of.
I got clients, we got lots of clients with our gym as well, and a lot of people have got quite a lot of chronic pain, right? And there's this thing, you can either be weak and in pain or you can be strong and in pain. And to be honest with you, strong and in pain is probably better than weak and in pain because it does get worse. And then you think of like pain as a dial as well. As I don't think you can ever get rid of it, but you can dial it down like a volume switch on a radio. Like you might start off like 8 out of 10 pain, but by the end of it, 3 out of 10 consistently. That's a win for sure.
And yes, you mentioned about one of our past clients. So I remember Richard. He had really bad arthritis in both knees, could not climb stairs, and we started working with him, and like he had so much pain. There was no way we could get him to do anything without pain. So pretty much everything we did involved some form of pain, and there was no other way to do it. So we started doing some small step ups. We got him on the bike. We got him to do some very easy sit to stands. And in the beginning, he was hurting. But then further down the track, in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks down the track, even though we carried on with the same exercises, his pain level started to diminish. And that was exactly a good example of progression. So his muscles started to adapt, his joints started to adapt. And then as he went on, he got stronger and stronger and stronger, and he pushed through, and eventually his pain level started to improve. And so for most of you, it would probably be something similar. You have to have a certain amount of courage to carry on. So then at the end of the at the end of your rehab period, you'll actually see a real improvement.
No, good, amazing. So that was a good video, guys, for pain. I mean, I think everyone's individual. As I said, have some courage, have some faith in the process, and use that traffic light system to actually help you navigate it. Right. So, like I said, go and grab that system that's going to be down below by commenting. What was it? Did you comment?
Traffic light.
Traffic light. There you go. Good. So the other thing Alex mentioned just now was that some people get pain at night in their knees. Okay, we actually did a video on that. So if you are somebody that is struggling with pain at night, go and check out that video there, and we'll see you over there.